In our society, we often correlate legality with safety. We use household products, spray pesticides, and religiously consume drugs such as Ritalin, Adderall, Oxycontin, and Prozac. We consume all of this, but how many know who made the drugs and where the corporations came from? Who produces the chemicals we trust on a daily basis? These 13 corporations tend to be a blind spot in our understanding of history. Tens of thousands of American toddlers are being prescribed amphetamine, a result of this blind spot. Neos Therapeutics is responsible for candy-flavored children's amphetamine, sold as Adzenys. Shire created Adderall. An understanding of Big Pharma is conducive to a big-picture understanding of the world and power itself. It is an essential puzzle piece in understanding disease, hegemony, and health. For instance, we have Purdue. Purdue Pharma was created in 1892 New York. They are arguably responsible for the epidemic of opioid addiction in the United States, producing hydrocodone, OxyContin, fentanyl, codeine, hydromorphone, and oxycodone. Novartis is the world's largest pharmaceutical corporation by revenue, headquartered in Basel, Switzerland, a 1996 merger between Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz. Novartis is responsible for many drugs, from Ritalin to LSD. Novartis has a long criminal record. They are known for animal cruelty, for drilling the heads of cats open to experimenting on primates. Sandoz polluted the Rhine River in the 1986 Sandoz chemical spill. Novartis owned Syngenta, one of the world's largest producers of pesticides and GM seeds. Recently, Syngenta was sold to the Chinese government. State-owned ChemChina is now one of the world's largest producers of pesticides and genetically modified seeds. Novartis coerces entire countries into banning cheaper, generic versions of their cancer drugs, namely Colombia. Leaked letters revealed Novartis' control over the Senate Finance Committee, as Colombia was warned that their $450 million in Peace Colombia money would be in jeopardy if they did not crack down on generic versions of the cancer drug Gleevec. Eli Lilly was created in 1876 Indianapolis. They are responsible for Prozac, antipsychotics, cancer-causing bovine growth hormones in cows, and cancer drugs to treat the cancer that may have been given to people through Eli Lilly products. Created in 1849 New York, Pfizer is responsible for Zoloft, Xanax, SSRI antidepressants, Viagra, Advil, Chapstick, Robitussin, and more. In 2014, Pfizer spent $2.6 million paying off politicians. The Nuremberg trials of Nazi Germany produced 3 corporations on this list. German chemical cartel IG Farben was split into Bayer, BASF, and Hoist, currently Sanofi. IG Farben was Hitler's largest financial backer and was vital to the extermination of millions in Auschwitz, supplying the poison gas and more. Bayer was founded in 1863 Germany. They invented mustard gas and pioneered German chemical weapons. This painting of chemical warfare was commissioned for the breakfast hall of Bayer's Karl Duisberg. He ate breakfast looking at a painting of chemical warfare. Bayer merged into IG Farben Trust in December 1925 to become Bayer again after the Nuremberg trials. Today, Bayer is known for giving thousands of children AIDS through tainted hemophiliac medicine, while internal documents prove they knew it was contaminated. Bayer bought Monsanto in 2016 to create the world's largest seed and pesticide company. Oh, and they also made aspirin. Sanofi, who absorbed Hoist from IG Farben, is the world's largest manufacturer of vaccines. They also produce the allergy medicine Allegra. Severe psychosis in a BBC reporter following Sanofi's yellow fever vaccine is just the tip of the iceberg with this corporation. BASF was another product of IG Farben. Unfazed by the Nuremberg trials, today they are the world's largest chemical corporation. They produce raw materials for pharmaceuticals, plastics, GM seeds, and more. Johnson & Johnson is a household name, known for Splenda, Band-Aids, and baby powder. Unfortunately, their famous talcum powder actually causes ovarian cancer, and they were forced to pay $72 million to a woman who used their product religiously and got cancer. Margaret Hamburg held the highest office at the FDA as commissioner from 2009 to 2015. She ensured Johnson & Johnson's profit through minimal regulation, while her husband's hedge fund, Renaissance Technologies, owned a large stake in J&J. Hamburg's father was president of Carnegie Corporation. Both father and mother served as directors of the American Eugenics Society. Toddlers on Adderall. History of Big Pharma and the major players will provide insight into this blind spot of historical understanding.
As you can see, the title is How Rockefeller Founded Big Pharma and Waged War on Natural Cures. This article was posted March 27th. Western medicine has some good points, and it is great in an emergency, but it's high time people realized that today's mainstream medicine, or Western medicine, or allopathy, with its focus on drugs, radiation, drugs, surgery, drugs, and more drugs, is at its foundation a money-spinning Rockefeller creation. People these days look at you like a weirdo if you talk about the healing properties of plants or any other holistic practices. Much like anything else, politics and money have been used to warp people's minds and encourage them to embrace what is bad for them. It all began with John D. Rockefeller, who lived from 1839 to 1937, who was an oil magnate, a robber baron, America's first billionaire, and a natural-born monopolist. By the turn of the 20th century, he controlled 90% of all oil refineries in the U.S. through his oil company, Standard Oil, which was later on broken up to become Chevron, Exxon, Mobil, etc. Here you can see a chart of the evolution of Standard Oil. World Affairs reports at the same time around 1900, scientists discovered petrochemicals and the ability to create all kinds of chemicals from oil. For example, the first plastic called Bakelite was made from oil in 1907. Scientists were discovering various vitamins and guessed that many pharmaceutical drugs could be made from oil. This was a wonderful opportunity for Rockefeller, who saw the ability to monopolize the oil, chemical, and the medical industries at the same time. The best thing about petrochemicals was that everything could be patented and sold for high profits. But there was one problem with Rockefeller's plan for the medical industry. Natural herbal medicines were very popular in America at the time. Almost half the doctors and medical colleges in the U.S. were practicing holistic medicine, using knowledge from Europe and Native Americans. Rockefeller, the monopolist, had to figure out a way to get rid of his biggest competition. He used the classic strategy of problem, reaction, solution. That is, create a problem and scare people, and then offer a pre-planned solution, similar to terrorism scare followed by the Patriot Act. He went to his buddy Andrew Carnegie, another plutocrat, who made his money from monopolizing the steel industry, who devised the scheme. From the prestigious Carnegie Foundation, they sent a man named Abraham Flexner to travel around the country and report on the status of medical colleges and hospitals around the country. This led to the Flexner Report, which gave birth to the modern medicine as we know it. Needless to say, the report talked about the need for revamping and centralizing our medical institutions. Based on this report, more than half of all medical colleges were soon closed. Homeopathy and natural medicines were mocked and demonized, and doctors were even jailed. To help with the transition and change the minds of other doctors and scientists, Rockefeller gave more than $100 million to colleges, hospitals, and founded a philanthropic front group called General Education Board, or GEB. This is the classic carrot and stick approach. In a very short time, medical colleges were all streamlined and homogenized. All the students were learning the same thing, and medicine was all about using patented drugs. Scientists received huge grants to study how plants cure diseases, but their goal was to first identify which chemicals in the plant were effective, and then recreate a similar chemical, but not identical, in the lab that could be patented. A pill for an ill became the mantra for modern medicine, and you thought Koch brothers were evil. So now here we are 100 years later, churning out doctors who know nothing about the benefits of nutrition or herbs or any holistic practices. We have an entire society that is enslaved to corporations for its well-being. America spends 15% of its GDP on healthcare, which should be really called sick care. It is focused not on cure but only on symptoms, thus creating repeat customers. There is no cure for cancer, diabetes, autism, asthma, or even the flu. Why would there be real cures? This is a system founded by oligarchs and plutocrats, not by doctors. As for cancer, oh yeah, the American Cancer Society was founded by none other than Rockefeller in 1913. In this month of breast cancer awareness, it is sad to see people being brainwashed about chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. That's for another blog post, but here is a quote from John D. Rockefeller that summarizes his New World Order vision for America. Take a look at it. It's a little bit bigger here. I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. And that's from John D. Rockefeller. Created the General Education Board, or GEB, in 1903 to dispense Rockefeller funds to education. So yet again, another interesting article here.